Of the greatest political comebacks, if not the greatest political comeback in American history. And this morning, President-elect Donald Trump is setting the stage for a second term in the White House as the 47th president of the United States.
Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to supporters, conceding to Trump after a hard-fought and short campaign. Harris told supporters to accept the loss and focus on the future. Let's get right to our political panel this morning. Joining us is the former campaign and administration official to Barack Obama, Domonique James, and the former Speaker of the Oklahoma House of Representatives, T.W. Shannon. We always see you two side by side because we enjoy the conversation that you both bring to the equation. So, first of all, VP Harris spoke to her supporters yesterday. Let's listen and then we'll respond to that.
We must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
So this is a question to both of you. Dominique, we'll start with you first. Obviously, what were your biggest takeaways from Harris' speech yesterday?
First and foremost, I think the country must pause and recognize what Vice President Harris did. Her campaign was 107 days, and what she was expected to accomplish not only was historic, it was absolutely unprecedented. Not only as a HBCU grad, I graduated from Spelman College. I'm incredibly proud of her. Some top moments, first, calling for a peaceful transfer of power. I live in Washington, D.C. I remember the aftermath of January 6th. That was real. I also absolutely agree and love that she called for it to stop, never stop fighting for your ideals, whether it's freedom, opportunity. Ultimately, Harris and Trump are presidents, or are patriots, excuse me, even though their vision of the country, how we achieve it, looks very different. It was a really good concession speech.
And TW, your response to it?
Well, I would say I'm glad that she made the concession speech and she conceded the election, something that Hillary Clinton still hasn't done. But the reality is this is a conundrum for our country because over the last, 6 months to a year, the Democrat Party has spent billions of dollars. I think there was $15 billion spent on this election. The Democrats probably spending about 11 of that. And they spent most of it telling the country that the next president of the United States is Adolf Hitler and his supporters are Nazis. That creates a conundrum for people. And again, those of us that have done this a long time, I don't think Dominique really believes that, and I don't think a lot of political insiders believe that. But there are a lot of young people who believe that and are terrified because of this messaging. And so she didn't really address that issue, but the election night was really a MAGA mandate, and the mandate was two-part. The American people rejected the weaponization of our judicial system, particularly our justice system, and they rejected this notion of DEI. It's unfortunate what they did to Kamala Harris by lowering the standard, by saying we're only going to choose a black woman, and then not allowing her to compete in a primary process. Joe Biden needs to own that. His own personal ego got in the way. Not only did it cost the Democrats the election in many regards, but it cost the American people, I think, a generation of trust in the Democrat Party.
Dominique, I want to... Oh, you want to respond to that? Go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I do not think we should disregard a lot of the concerns that many Americans have, especially when it comes to Trump's rhetoric. In his concession speech, one of the first things he says, we're going to launch the largest deportation operation in history. During his campaign, he said he was going to send the military door to door in American communities. And some of the early vote and early analysis returns that I've seen, what was really interesting is how Christians of color and also how Jewish people voted overwhelmingly against Trump, because that type of rhetoric brings back a lot of memories, whether it's of the Gestapo or even of slavery. So we absolutely should not discredit a lot of the rhetoric. I hope that Donald Trump does not fulfill on a lot of the dangerous rhetoric that he did spew, but we absolutely cannot dismiss a lot of the threats that he said that brought a lot of fear into the lives of Americans.
Thank goodness a lot of minorities, particularly black men, did dismiss the rhetoric of the left, because what we saw was a historic number of African Americans, Latinos voting in support of Donald Trump. And the reason is, not only did he obliterate the Democrats' so-called blue wall, what we found out is that blue wall is supported by a black wall. And Donald Trump has obliterated that black wall. Black African Americans and Latino Americans are now taking a serious look at the Republican Party because of the lies and the rhetoric of the Democrat Party. That's a fact.
I want to jump in here really quick because we want to kind of move to some other issues. Dominique, this one is for you. Why do you believe Kamala Harris waited so long to address her supporters? That's a question that's being raised. I just wanted to get your take on that.
I don't think that she waited so long, and I think that's a very unfair critique. This was, again, a historic, unprecedented election cycle. When you look at it over the course of the entirety, I think that she took the time to get the right message and to strike the right chord. I think had she addressed them immediately after election night, after all the results and votes were not tallied, let's not forget that Donald Trump was the days leading up to the election talking about voter fraud, wins in a landslide, everything's fine. So she and her team, I imagine, took the time to get the message right and to really instill hope in a time where it felt dark for a lot of Americans.
TW, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think it was a mistake to wait. Listen, she should have responded Tuesday night. I actually have been in elections before. I've lost elections, and I gave my concession speech the minute the election was called. And the reason that's important is because we've got to start uniting this country. If we really want to unite the country, we hear a lot about unity now. What we need is for President Biden to announce that he will pardon Donald Trump on all federal charges. The governor of New York should do the exact same thing because these were political trumped-up charges that the Democrats knew about. And the reason Kamala Harris has lost so much credibility with the American people, she couldn't level with us about the condition of Joe Biden. He wasn't well enough to run for president again. And so he's not well enough to be the president of the United States right now, and she still hasn't leveled with the American people about that issue. She made a mistake by waiting. She made it about her. It should have been about the American people on Tuesday night, and it wasn't. It's once again about Kamala Harris, her ego, and Joe Biden's legacy, and that's a mistake, and I think it's what cost them the election.
Well, we're going to see how it all plays out today for sure as we hear from President Biden later. In the meantime, Domonique James and TW